Super Random Japan. Nani?
The fact that most idol fans are male, and the big money spenders are adult males, and most idols start their careers earlier and earlier has led to the fact that there are thousands of young girls who must deal with years of interacting with old men in order to achieve their dreams. Yeah, in the West there is a popular term people are using now called no kink shaming, but Japan has basically built its whole entertainment industry around this ideology. Anybody who has experienced Japanese adult videos has realized pretty quickly any idea someone in a studio has is experimented with. Nothing is off limits. In fact, CP, I don't think I can say the full term on YouTube, was produced in Japan legally and marketed heavily until 1999. I mean, not full-on adult situations. After all, even they have their boundaries, I guess. It was mostly artistic images and videos, one might say. You could see idols of literally any age, however, let's face it, when the stars aren't old enough to buy their own merchandise, you know there's a problem. Even Kill Bill actress, singer, and model Chiaki Kuriyama posed in a couple of these types of adult photo books at age 12, only for them to stop being published a couple years later once the ban began. At least in Kill Bill, she had the chance to do something to a man that she probably wished she could have done to some of her earliest fans.
笑うなよ。やりたいのかやりたくないのか。どっちで。
やりたい。
どうなのさ。これでもまだ私を刺したい。でも逆に刺されちゃったみたいだ。
Even once CP was banned in 1999, the production was the only thing banned, but swimsuits, stripteases, and seductive popsicle or banana eating was still pretty regular in marketing material. Plus, as far as the actual CP, people could still own or possess it legally, so it still circulated pretty regularly in auctions and online, until as late as 2014, when they finally made all CP illegal. That's when we started to see arrests and stories about famous people, mostly people in the anime industry. I don't know why fans were so surprised though. After all, these are the same otaku who grew up or started their careers in the 80s and 90s when CP was still legal and everywhere and idols were all the rage. They were spoon-fed their pure beautiful fake girlfriends, with little to no privacy or censorship, for most of their lives. However, I guess it's mostly fans in the West that were most shocked. It isn't just youths that have been exploited, however, though. Many stars were known to resort to provocative photo shoots when their careers started going south. A good representation of this and how it might affect fans is portrayed in the award-winning anime Perfect Blue, a mystery thriller set around a killer wiping out people who are tainting the image of their beloved idol as her career progresses. Now, though I know most people cringe at the amount of grown men attending teen and young adult performances, there are some safeguards in place. First, they have pretty sound security, they move pretty quickly, especially at events like handshake events, where there's close contact with the idols. Also, remember that many of the fans see themselves as surrogate boyfriends or family, so if anyone were to ever do anything to the girls, all the rest would pounce, regardless of how much of a shut-in they usually are. Mess with an idol, and you're gonna get stabbed for sure, not to mention your house will get burned down. Really, the main threat is usually from the people in charge. Even Johnny Kitagawa himself wasn't short of scandals involving young boys, and boys are more likely to speak up. Girls, especially Japanese girls, are highly unlikely. Even confident women of the West have a hard time bringing allegations to light, so the private and honorable and male-dominated Japanese society will be way less likely or successful to do the same. Again, the managers have full access to and control of the girls' lives aside from their parents. However, the parents are often fame seekers themselves, but more importantly willing to turn a blind eye to help their children's dreams come true. They do all they can to protect them, but are quick to let naive cognitive distortions impair their better judgment. So, even if they're not needing to sleep their way to the top, Japanese idols surely must cringe their way to the top. While the big-time idols are in fact idols of everyone throughout the country, including young girls everywhere, they don't see many of those fans in the road to that stardom. Until they become A-list idols, they're dealing with countless old men. Again, though, it's a country of privacy and timidness. There aren't many inappropriate interactions, or the industry would be dead. Again, any controversy still hasn't stopped men, women, boys, and girls from being obsessed with idols and idol culture. Even when playing Yakuza 5, yes, I know there are other idol games and other games in general, still, they were bold enough to add the realistic cringe factor I just mentioned. Haruka, the girl you play as, for example, has an interview with a middle-aged man who edits a magazine for older men, in which she says she's open to dating older men if she has an emotional connection, and he gets way too excited, admitting that many of his readers will be very happy to hear that. Also, there's a producer who makes a move on her, very inappropriately, which ends up getting her arch-rivals to actually finally side with her, admitting the guy is a creep and tries to do it with all the talent. However, even with this cringe, it didn't stop me from wanting to make it to the top of the idol biz. In the game, at least. Where I think Japan went wrong, however, is profiting off the old and or lonely young men. At the same time AKB48 was perfecting the idol manufacturing machine in Japan, Korea took a different approach. Taking inspiration from Japan, K-pop started to breathe signs of life in the late 80s and 90s. However, instead of the young, pure, innocent girls, they dumped all their funding into creating sexy young adult groups. They trained them in all styles of music, rap, and dance. They taught them multiple languages. Each group has at least one member who can speak another country's language, and often members can speak 5 or 6, so they can sing and conduct interviews internationally. They've truly benefited where Japan failed. After all, most of the world knows BTS and Blackpink. Not many know AKB48. Weirdly, one of the few idol groups that might be known throughout many countries is a group called Baby Metal, because they invented their own type of music essentially named after themselves. Well, they didn't make it, their producers did, but still. The idea of a cutesy idol group singing with heavy metal band is pretty unique. Unique enough to gain attention worldwide. Anyway, another failure of the Japanese idol music industry is that the Japanese companies put tight holds on music copyrights, where again Korea flaunts their music all over YouTube and other streaming services. While there's much controversy revolving around Japanese idols, there's no denying they've had a large effect on the world. We have competitions everywhere for stars to be made. K-pop wouldn't be a thing without Japan's influence, plus our anime and video games wouldn't be the same without the otaku love for idols and their songs. Again though, much of their fandom seems cringy. I think it's weirdly safe. And while I never would have believed some people truly are just lonely single men wanting daughter figures, I'm coming to terms with the fact that even that is something that happens. After all, even in the West, grown men fall platonically for child stars who perform on talent shows and root for them in parental fashion. However, most men in the West would be conscious enough not to attend a dance recital when you don't know any of the children performing. It's okay to root for people from afar, but it's up for debate if handshakes and private photo sessions are cool. Another area I need to give idol fans some reprieve is in the fact that I think it does help their mental health and ability to socialize a bit. Unlike many hikikomori, or lonely hermits, a growing epidemic in Japan, idol fans get out, form bonds with other fans, and learn at least a little how to interact with women. They get confidence, a hobby, and a sense of worth, as awkward as an avenue it may be. I had a friend take me to an idol event once, and I felt very awkward and uncomfortable, but thankfully there was a bar there, and after a few drinks, I was in the pit with the guys with glow sticks, singing and dancing weirdly, and hugging and high-fiving strangers, so there was some bizarre camaraderie going on, and little to no competition. I did not, however, stay till the end of the show for the meet and greet. I wasn't up for shaking sweaty hands. Also, reports of direct inappropriate behavior or physical interactions are very rare, especially considering how many thousands of meet and greet events are happening every day. Still, I think the industry would be well off holding women or girl-only events, as the men surely scare away other potential fans, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.